Hey guys, how are you all doing? This is the MMA breakdown. Um, Pretty late with this video. I'm going to recap UFC 165, Jones versus Gustaffsson. It's almost November now, and yeah, just never got around to making this video. But for any of you who do take the time to watch this, being that it's so late after the event, I really appreciate it. But just going to run through all the fights and give my thoughts on them and the implications of UFC 165. So starting with the prelim card, Facebook card, Daniel Omielanczyk defeated Nandor Guillermo by KO in the third round. Um, I wasn't familiar with either of these fighters going in. I think I picked Guillermo just because I knew he had fought Josh Barnett, and I didn't know anything about Daniel. But I remember Guillermo getting on top for, I think, the first and second round, doing pretty well on the ground. Omielanczyk couldn't get up, but the third round, Omielanczyk nailed him. I believe it was a straight cross and put him out. Decent win for Daniel, I guess, but seems to be a little weak on the ground. Next up at bantamweight, Alex Bruce Leroy Caceres defeated Roland Delorme by split decision. Delorme, I believe, knocked him down in the first round and took his back, and they had a pretty good scramble on the ground. Delorme's he's got good skills on the ground. Not so great on his feet, but taking his back in the first round, that's about all Delorme had. And Caceres just was too quick and outpointed him on the feet. I agree with the decision. Delorme, I don't think they're going to cut him. They'll probably keep him around. He's had some exciting fights. And Caceres, it's since been announced that he's going to fight another guy who fought on this card, Mitch Gagnon. So I think that's a really good fight. And just to quickly preview that, I think Gagnon's going to beat him easily. Next up, lightweight fight, Michel Prazeres defeated Jesse Ronson by split decision. This was a pretty good fight, and I had picked Prazeres because Jesse Ronson's a newcomer, and I didn't know anything about him. And Prazeres, I remember when he fought Paulo Tiago, and I actually thought he won that fight, but didn't get the decision there. But Prazeres, he dominated in, I believe, the first two rounds, just with wrestling and control on the ground, took the back. But the third round, Ronson really came forward, turned it around, and he had a beautiful reversal. He was held up against the fence, and he kind of scooped under the thigh of Prazeres and lifted him up and slammed him. I really liked that. And he did win the third round, I believe, but it was a good fight. Went to Prazeres, and looking forward to seeing both of these guys again. Next up, last fight on the Facebook prelim card, John the Bull Magdesi KO'd Hene Forch in the first round. I had actually picked Forch to win this. I feel kind of silly doing that. I thought his ground game he'd be able to use that against Makdessi. I remember Makdessi being taken down and quickly submitted by Dennis Hallman, but never got close to the ground. Makdessi nailed him, rocked him with a few punches, and the punch that put him down, not that it was intentional, but it did hit him in the back of the head. I thought that was kind of, I don't know, I think that should have been called by the ref, but well, I'm not sure about the rule on that. If a guy, if he kind of moves into the shot and the back of his head is hit that way, I'm not sure if that's illegal. But anyway, I think Makdessi would have won the fight either way, and he's got power. And no one's making a big deal about that shot. So good fight for him. Hopefully he can continue to knock guys out with his striking. He had a string of decision wins there for a bit. And yeah, this was a good performance for him. And Fort, who knows? He's one of these Ultimate Fighter veterans from the show who didn't go far on the show. He did have a good win against Terry Edom, but who knows if they'll keep him around or let him go. He didn't show much in this fight. Now on to the Fox Sports 1 prelim card. At bantamweight, Mitch Gagnon defeated Dustin Kimura by technical submission in the first round, guillotine choke. This was a great fight, and I picked Gagnon going into this. I was pretty confident. Dustin Kimura, we've only seen him once in the octagon. In the octagon, he beat Chico Camus, submitted him, and Gagnon. This guy was coming off of a year-long layoff, but I was really impressed with him, both in his loss to Caraway. He showed a lot of grit and heart in that fight. Had Caraway in trouble a few times in that fight, and then just ran through was it Weil Watson in his fight a year before that. Gagnon came out right out of the gate hot, going forward, throwing big punches. I believe he rocked Kimura, or Kimura's going for a takedown, but he jumped on the guillotine and quickly put him out unconscious. Great performance for Gagnon. I love this guy. He's like a little fire hydrant. He's got big power, crushing submissions. I'm real excited to see this guy again, and he is fighting Bruce Leroy Caceres. I think he wins that fight. He's got too much power. His punches do seem to come a bit too labored. Like, he puts everything into all his shots. There was a lot of, big kind of haymakers. I'd like to see him calm that down a little bit, rein it in, develop his technique, striking a little bit more, but I think this guy's good. He's explosive. He's got finishing ability, and taking out a hyped guy in Kimura was a good performance. Kimura showed skills on the ground against Camus, but this fight just outclassed pretty much on the feet, and then getting choked out. I'm sure he's not going to be cut, though. They'll give him another chance, I think. He's a real young guy, I believe, early 20s, and I'm sure he's got a lot of room and time to grow. So I'm sure he'll come back. I'm sure he can come back from this. Next fight, at welterweight, Stephen Thompson defeated Chris Clements by KO in the second round. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I had picked Clements in this fight, and I was totally wrong. Aside from the awesome dragon tail leg sweep in the first round that Clements landed and knocked Thompson down with, he couldn't do anything on the feet. Thompson was, he was in and out, closing distance well, and he was tagging Clements a whole bunch, more than Clements could get to him. And then Thompson hit him, nailed him with a big shot in the second round, put him out, and he was using some takedowns in this fight also. I had picked Clements also because Thompson, I wasn't impressed with his striking at all in his last fight against Nishan Burrell. I thought he looked pretty bad. I thought that karate stance limited him in the striking game. I felt he couldn't manage distance well with that sideways karate stance, but really worked out well for him in this fight. Maybe it's just when he faces traditional boxers, he can't implement that well, but this was a good performance by him, and now I'm excited to see him again. I definitely wouldn't say he's a contender or even in the top 10, but I'm excited to see who they'll give him next, and I think he can continue to improve, especially if he develops any kind of submission game or just a ground game. And Clements is probably gone. I'm not sure if they have cut him or not, but yeah, I think he's gone. At bantamweight, Wilson Hayes defeated Ivan Menjivar by UD. I had picked Menjivar. The guy's always exciting, and he's had some great wars and some great finishes. But Menjivar, coming off of the loss to Faber. Was that his last fight to Faber? Yeah. I thought he would rebound here with a big win, but Hayes just completely outgrappled him, held him down. It was a pretty boring fight. Didn't do much on top and didn't go for any submissions, but he did take the fight on short notice, though, and it was a good, it wasn't exciting, but got the win over a dangerous guy like Menjivar. Good win, I guess. Excited to see. Well, I'm sorry, no, I'm not excited to see him. It was a pretty boring affair, but good win for him. I think I'd like to see him fight Brian Caraway, maybe. Two strong grapplers. I think that would be a good fight. Next up, Miles the Fury Jury defeated Mike Ricci by split decision. This was a pretty terrible fight. I had picked Jury. He's been on a roll. Looked really good in his last two fights against Michael Johnson and Ramsey Nijam. And Mike Ricci, after losing to Colton Smith in the TUF 16 finale, getting horribly out-wrestled, rebounded with a win, a pretty lackluster fight against Colin Fletcher. But, Jury, he basically won this with his grappling and not in a big way. He got the takedown when he needed to, had back control in the third round, but not really a memorable fight. Can't remember too much else. On the feet, neither guy, I think, had a clear advantage, but they've cut Ricci, and I think it was deserved. The guy was just not fighting with a whole lot of drive or fire, not fighting to finish. And I'm sure Ricci's gonna, will go to another organization and do pretty well. I was really impressed with him with his win on the Ultimate Fighter when he beat Neil Magny with standing elbows. I thought that was great, but in the UFC definitely hasn't lived up to expectations, and his fights have been, it just seems like he's going through the motions. But Jury gets the win, and he moves on, and I hope to see him get back to his, his exciting style of fighting. Now onto the main card. Lightweight Habib Nurmagomedov defeated Pat Healy by unanimous decision. I had picked Healy going into this fight. I was super impressed with his win over Jim Miller, choking him unconscious. But Nurmagomedov, man, this guy is for real, and this was a serious win over Pat Healy, who, as I mentioned in his last fight, just destroyed Jim Miller. Great win. This guy's wild. He's strong, throwing flying knees, just coming forward the whole time. He's aggressive, fast, solid striking game, good wrestling. Nurmagomedov's for real, and he's beaten Pat Healy now. He beat Gleison Tebow. It was a decision, but he beat him in his only his second fight in the UFC. The guy's he's quickly entering that elite status, and he's got to get at least a top 10, if not a top 5 guy next. That was a really good performance by him, and people are saying Melendez and Khabib next. I think that would be a great fight. Really anybody, but he needs to get a top guy. This guy's closing in on a title shot. Next up at middleweight, oh, what a horrible fight. Francis Carmont defeated Costa Philippou by unanimous decision. Just a terrible fight. I picked Philippou, but his winning streak was brought to an end. I thought he could do it with the striking, but Carmont, this guy is just huge at middleweight, and he does not mind laying and praying. He's the king of lay and pray and the king of bullshit decisions. His last 2 fights he should have lost against Lawler and Larkin, but just took Philippou down and just held him there. Philippou could not do a thing, just on his back the whole time, and he was throwing a punch like every 20 seconds, Carmont, from on top, and just screaming emphatically every time he threw a strike from top. Really annoying. I hated this fight. And I have a very scary feeling that Carmont's going to lay and pray his way to a title shot. He's fighting Luke Rockhold next, and while I think Rockhold is a way more complete and better fighter than Carmont, I kind of feel Carmont, he's so big and he's got a good takedown. I feel he's going to be able to just lay and pray everyone, and I don't want to see that, but yeah, he got the win. That was the story of the fight. He was just on top the whole time. And Carmont's not, like, when he came into the UFC, he wasn't this boring. Like, I remember his first fight against Chris Camozzi, a pretty decent fight. He struck with him and showed some good clinch work. And then he had a few finishes against Magnus Siedenblad and a really good win over Carlos Vemela, both rear naked choke finishes, and then he just went on this roll of terribly boring and fights he should have lost that he won, and now this fight, real boring, and I really don't want to see him again. I really hope he doesn't beat Luke Rockhold, but terrible fight. And Philippou, his little streak has come to an end. Whether he'll come back from this or not to get back, in the title hunt, I don't think so, but who knows. And then at heavyweight, Brendan Schaub defeated Matt Mitrione, submitted him, put him out with a Darce choke in the first round. Really good performance by Schaub, very surprising. I thought, well, actually, I did pick Schaub, but I thought that standing with Matt, he'd be in a lot of trouble, and I thought he would have to get it to the ground quick. That was not the case. On the feet, Schaub landed a few punches before coming forward with a big combination, a big flurry. Looked like he might have hurt Mitrione a bit. Mitrione laughed, and that's when Schaub went in for the takedown, scooped him up, put him down. Schaub, I think he's been knocked out a few times now. I think he realizes he doesn't have the chin to hang with these heavyweights. But he's been using his ground game a lot more, especially in the LeVar Johnson fight. I think he's making that switch over from being a striker to using his ground game, and I thought that's what he was going to do here in this fight, and he did. Submitted Mitrione with a Darce choke. Really good finish, especially after that whole Metamoris debacle, or whatever you want to call it. Schaub, running away the whole time in that fight. But he put Mitrione out unconscious. Mitrione, hadn't been finished before that except by Nelson. And good win by Schaub. But I still don't think he can become an elite heavyweight. His hands are good, but I just don't think he's got the chin, and I don't see him being able to take the top guys down at heavyweight. But good win for him. And just a little side note, Brendan Schaub, the kind of the downward trend he's been on. Really kind of surprising. This is a guy who came into the UFC red hot. Knocked out two guys, I think Chase Gormley and Chris Tuckshirer, and then the fight against Gonzaga just put on a great striking display, totally dominated Gonzaga on the feet. That was a great performance, and look at Gonzaga now coming back from retirement and doing really well, and then Schaub is kind of, he's lost a few fights here, and yeah, just something kind of surprise. MMA people's careers, take twists and turns. But anyway, good win for Schaub. He's a guy I like to see. I'd like to see do well and do good, get up to the top. But I don't think he can do it. Next up, the co-main event, interim champ Hainan Barao KO'd Eddie Wineland with a spinning back kick in the second round. I had picked Barao. I thought Wineland had a decent chance. The first round was close. Wineland probably won it, but It was really more of just a feeling out kind of round. Neither guy committed to anything big. Nothing big happened there, but second round, Barao just, the guy's got an array of, spinning back kicks, all kinds of spinning attacks. The guy's really good and unorthodox, and just landed a beautiful spinning back kick to the face, a pretty rare move, and definitely knocked Wineland out. Everyone was crying, early stoppage. Not every stoppage can be perfect. You can't time a stoppage. You can't wait until a guy is completely unconscious to stop a fight. He was dropped by it. He was definitely hurt. Brow jumped on him. Wineland, he was not quick to recover. I thought it was a fine stoppage. Barrow's great. Can't wait for. I really hope that Cruz Barrow fight happens. I think it needs to happen. I think Cruz, it's gonna be real tough for him, being out over 2 years. But it's the fight that needs to happen. I do still give Cruz a chance. I think he's really, really good. But Barrow's a killer. Great fighter. Really exciting performances. He's beating all the top guys at bantamweight. He is the interim champ. And very well could be the champ if he gets the chance to fight Cruz. But great performance for him. And Barrow's on his way, I think, to becoming a really great fighter. And now the main event, John Jones defeated Alexander the Mauler Gustaffsson by unanimous decision. I had picked Jones. I was not giving Gustaffsson a chance, like many other people weren't. But Gustaffsson just gave an incredible performance. Was really putting it on Jones from the first round. Started landing his jabs, defending the takedown from Jones, and then just it was miraculous. He took Jones down. It was just so amazing when it happened because Jones has never been taken down by anyone, and he was taken down by a guy who's not a wrestler. And then anyway, you guys all saw the fight went on. Gustafsson was using movement and really surprising. Jones, when he fought Rampage and when he's fought these other guys, he's been the guy who's quicker on his feet. He's the guy that uses movement in and out, and that's how he's been able to beat people. But in this fight, Gustaffsson was the one who was able to, be light-footed and bouncing around, and he made Jones stand still, and he made Jones fight flat-footed. It was really incredible to see. Fourth and fifth round, Jones had Gustaffsson hurt, and was close to finishing him a few times, and I was really thinking Gustafsson had won the fight. Now I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but I had Gustafsson winning every single round when I watched the fight. But I realized, when it was over, I was probably caught up in how unbelievable it was, and I probably got a little carried away with my scoring on a few rounds. But anyway, Jones won. I thought it was a robbery, and then when they replayed the whole main card like a week or two ago on Fox Sports 1, and I rewatched the entire fight. I was watching it carefully now to judge, and I was very surprised by what I saw the second time. Before I rewatched it, I thought that the most dominant round for Jones was for Gustafsson was the first round, and I was totally wrong, at least how I saw it. Rewatching it the second time, I thought Jones clearly won the first round, just landed more kicks, and I didn't see Gustaffsson land all the jabs and the strikes that I thought he did in that first. Even with the takedown, I still gave Jones the first round. I thought he landed a lot more. Second round was pretty close, but I gave it to Jones. This is when I was watching it for the second time, so I had Jones up 2-1. And then third round, Gustafsson really poured it on, was looking great, tagging Jones, kind of staggering him a bit, busting him up. His boxing looked clean, very good combinations, great uppercuts, light hands, very good. And then the third round was the most dominant round for Gustaffsson. And then the fourth round, Gustaffsson was looking even better with his hands, just putting it on Jones, jabbing him up. And then I think it was with about a minute or maybe under a minute left in that round. I think that's when Jones landed that spinning elbow that rocked Gustaffsson. And I could totally see, why. I could totally see the argument for giving Jones that round. He was closer to finishing Gustaffsson, but I still felt that Gustaffsson did enough in the rest of that round with the boxing to win that round. So I had a 2-2 going into the fifth. I had Jones winning the first two, Gustaffsson winning 3 and 4. And then the fifth round, in my mind, before it started, going into it, rewatching it, I thought this was going to be the round where it was clearly Jones. But even though Jones hurt him bad in that fifth round, Gustaffsson was still firing back, and I still thought he landed, being able to land all the strikes he did. I thought it was about even, and I kind of gave Gustaffsson the edge in that fifth round, but it was so close it could go to Jones. I could even see that fifth round being a draw. So, I really enjoyed that, being able to rewatch the fight a second time very closely and just seeing that my how I scored the fight completely changed. So, it just goes to show that the first time you watch a fight, or even remembering what you think you saw in a fight, it might be completely different from what you would see if you were to watch it again more closely and analytically. But so I don't feel that Jones is, I don't feel he won that dominantly. I didn't feel he's the clear, decisive winner, but you could definitely make the case it went to him. But I thought it was super close. Like I said, I had it 2-2 going into the fifth. And I thought that fifth round could have gone either way or even a draw. So Gustaffsson did incredible either way. He's going to fight Lil Nogueira, which, I'm not saying he'll knock him out or finish him, but I don't see that being competitive at all. And I'm pretty sure Gustaffsson will get his shot, his rematch with Jones, and it should be a great fight. But Jones showed a lot of heart, never been tested like that, and it was a really good fight. Jones is fighting Teixeira next. I think he destroys Teixeira. Or, maybe not destroys, but I don't see Teixeira giving him any real trouble. And then Gustaffsson, like I said, fighting Nogueira. These two will meet up again, I'm pretty sure, and I think it's a rematch that needs to happen. But anyway, that's my recap for this card. Thanks for watching, guys. It's a really late video. If you did watch this, I do really appreciate it. I'd appreciate it if you would like the video, comment on if you want to challenge me on anything I've said, or just leave your thoughts on any of these fights. And please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And check out my another late video. I'm going to be doing my recap for UFC Fight Night 29, Shields versus Maia, and also UFC 166, and also UFC Fight Night 30, Machida versus Munoz. So got a lot of cards to recap. Keep an eye out for those. And then, of course, we have 2 cards coming up next week, Fight for the Troops, and Fight Night 31, I guess, Belfort and Henderson. And then, of course, in a few weeks, the big fight between GSP and Hendricks. So, stay tuned for all of those, and see you guys later. Take care.